Hey everyone, I am back. I am so glad to be here, and I decided that it was time to start live streaming again. I have had maybe a year and a half, 2 years off, and you know what? I realized that it was absolutely one of the highlights of my day. Not only that, it brought me great joy because I felt like all of you inspired me with topics and questions and things that I always wanted to write about, and you brought them to light and you helped me explore them, and I've just missed it. That's all. Sally, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. I've started live streaming again. And so let's see what you say. Bring them. Oh, yes. Okay. So I'm going to wave to you, Sally. So glad to see you. I'm going to live stream, and I want to start talking about things that matter. I think a lot of us have sort of felt like our head is just barely above water. And Sally, I know that's you. Sally lost her husband just a few short weeks ago. And, how do you survive something like that? How do you deal with such a dramatic life change? And I know Sally has been through several of them, as have I, as have all of us. We've all experienced some really tough times. So I wanted to talk today about how do we keep our head above water? Not only above water, but thriving and surviving the things that come our way, expected or unexpected. And one of the things that I was thinking about today is that everything that happens to you, whether it be good or bad, it helps you grow. It gives you a new perspective. It gives you something to look at as a new addition to your life. And I can particularly address the fact that when you lose someone that you love, people have an expression of, well, it's time to move on. But if you've experienced loss and you know what that's like, moving on is the last thing you can do, because there is no moving on from love. It's someone that you loved so intensely that you have a big giant hole in your heart. How do you move on from that? It's impossible. There's no moving on. What there is taking from that experience, knowing what it has done to your heart. It's turned your heart upside down and inside out, but learning to live with the love and keeping that love in your heart for the rest of your life. Now, I can tell you that when I lost Garrett, my son, that I thought that you no longer got to love that person. I thought that you only got to grieve that person. And what I learned from many, many years, time after time, year over year, is that love doesn't die. Not only that, here's a secret. It doesn't stop growing. Just because your beautiful loved one is gone, it doesn't mean that your love stopped at that point and that you couldn't possibly love them any more than you loved them when they died. Because my love for my son Garrett is greater than I ever imagined it could be. And you know what that does is that fills that hole. It gives you something to hold on to. It gives you that beautiful place in your heart where you get to meet your beautiful loved one and say, hi, I'm thinking about you today. I love you today. I am so glad you've been in my life, even if it was a short while, or maybe it was a long while. I lost my dad a year ago, and somebody said to me, well, it's a good thing he had a full life because he died at 90. But as we know, there is no perfect time for someone to die. Yes, maybe they had a full life, but I wasn't done having my dad in my life yet. And yet I can see that it was his perfect time, but it doesn't stop my loving him or wanting him to be in my life. My love continues. And so there's this great quote by an author that I love, Mark Chernoff. He says, circumstances will direct you, correct you, and perfect you over time. And that's what I love to think about these trying times that we have, these times that are so difficult, we don't know how we can go on. What those times teach us is that they perfect you over time. Isn't that a beautiful thought? Never have I felt more confident in who I am than now, having experienced so much loss, having experienced so many trying times, and realizing I'm still here. Not only that, I have observations about my life and thoughts about my life that I could have never had I not had those experiences. Nothing stays the same, and that is the truth. You will have situations, you will have experiences, you will have heartache, you will have trying times, you will have glorious times. And yet, nothing will stay the same. Nothing will be in that moment forever. Because those situations are brought to you in life for the experience that they're giving you, the experience that is teaching you your next step in this beautiful thing called life. What need were some of those things giving you? You might have had a broken heart, or a desire to be loved, or a career advancement, or common interests in someone or something. And the way you feel about those situations and people may shift and change. Have you ever had a friend that you just fell madly in love with, and you were together all the time and you couldn't stand not being apart, and somehow things changed and that friend didn't quite fit into the next part of your life? It doesn't mean that what you experienced with them wasn't real, but it served an important purpose in your beautiful life. And they may come and they may go. They may come back. Now, that's what happened in my life. So when I was 16, I briefly met this man in New York when I flew to New York to be in this show, the Sing Out. And I met him briefly. And then I left the show a year and a half later and went back home to Monterey. Lo and behold, decades later, after my husband had died, after my son had died, decades later, this beautiful man contacted me on Facebook. And yes, there are good things that come of Facebook. He contacted me on Facebook and said, "Hi, you probably don't remember me, but we met in New York decades ago." And we had. Well, from that moment forward, we reconnected in a way that I never expected. Now, I thought that part of my life was gone. I still have some of my most treasured friends from that era, and I hold them so dear to me. But I never expected this man from New Jersey to contact me and to become my friend again after all this time. We didn't really know each other. We were just in the same place at the same time doing the same thing. And lo and behold, that man is my husband today. We got married in 2011. And yes, Facebook had a huge, huge part in putting us together. I don't think we would have ever experienced that had we not been on something as miraculous as social media. So when people ask, do good things come of social media? I can tell you absolutely they do. So in the next part of this conversation with you, I want to say there will always be more tough situations to face. And I don't want to stay too long on this, but I want to say that Don't be afraid of those tough situations. You've likely already been through so many of them. You've experienced so much of life. And I know for a fact you survived, or you wouldn't be listening to this broadcast, talking to me on Facebook, posting a picture of your latest meal. I'm so glad for all of those things, because that means we're very much alive, we're very connected, and I am so grateful for that. So you're not the same person you were a year ago, or a decade ago, or 20 years ago. You're somebody better. You're somebody still growing and changing. And yeah, sometimes life is so difficult, but you've survived, and you're going to continue to do that. And I'm so glad that I've had this opportunity to talk to you today, because you help me grow. You inspire me, and I want to keep doing that. So thank you for joining me. And yeah, I'm back. I'm going to be doing this again and again. I'm going to try and do it around 5 o'clock most days, depending on my schedule. And so in the meantime, if you want to get on my mailing list, because I do send out my articles, which I love sharing with you. I post articles on medium.com. Huffington Post has many of my articles, especially related to grief. And also I publish in a publication called The Good Men Project, The Mission, The Startup. I have lots of articles that I love sending out to you, because I hope they inspire you. That's why I write them, because I love sharing my life experiences and what I've learned from others. So if you want to get on my mailing list, you can either private message me or put a message inside this broadcast, and I'll put you on my mailing list, and we'll be connected. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a great evening. Thanks. Bye-bye.